Hello, I'm Carole Parsons, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm wearing one glove because I'm going to show you a cool, messy technique. So, this is colored tissue paper. Well, it's watercoloring tissue paper, is I guess what you would call the technique. And here's one card. And I used, let's see, Flirty Flamingo and I think Calypso Coral on this one. And on this one, I used Tahitian Tide and Lemon Lime Twist. Now on these two, after I did the technique, I mounted it to black cardstock and made those cards. Then on these two, I got a little more fancy. On this one, I made a frame and mounted it with Stampin' Dimensionals to give it a little oomph. And this one, I cut a frame out of the card front with an oval and then covered it on the back so you wouldn't see all the messy parts. And with both, I used silver foil and silver embossing for the greetings. For the greetings, I used Go To Greetings. I love that font. Isn't it gorgeous? And then for die cutting the shapes, Quiet Meadow has some really nice coordinating dies that are perfect, just on their own, cut out with some gold foil. And I even used a butterfly on one of them. And then on those smaller ones, I used, this is Natural Prints dies, and I used these on that one. All right, let's get to it. So the first thing we need to do is gotta decide what colors. I guess we'll use these two. This is Tahitian Tide and Highland Heather. All right, let me move that out of the way. And the first thing we're going to do is drop some drops of re-inkers right on a surface of wax paper. And I'd say maybe 8 or 10, maybe 12, whatever floats your boat. I'm going to be covering a small piece, so I think this will be enough right here. And you kind of want them to mix, but be a little, asymmetrical too. All right, so once we get them dropped on the wax paper, you need a bone folder or a plastic knife, or in my case, I have a huge bag of these little sample spoons, so I'll use that. And you just want to take the edges and go like this and kind of smooth out your drops. And I want you to notice I did it this way, not this way. I don't want big swatches of the color. I want little swatches. And then, actually, I should have sprayed this with water first and then done that. But that's okay. Maybe 3 times. This is the Stampin' Spritzer that Stampin' Up! Has. It depends on how much water yours puts out. Oh, that does do better. There we go. There, that ought to be good. Then you're going to take a piece of tissue paper, larger, or I should say wider than what you want to cover your paper, because you have to be able to hold on to both ends. And you just set it down and let it do its thing. The tissue paper will soak up the dye ink. And this is just regular tissue paper that I got from, I don't know, probably Hobby Lobby when I was doing Christmas shopping stuff. And I'm taking my finger and I'm very lightly pressing the areas where there isn't any ink so that I don't have white spots. Very lightly. Then you pick it up and, oh, I gotta show you this. All right, see that pretty design? This is what I did. You can kind of get some double duty out of this. You need to set it aside to dry. But before you do that, you can lay it down on some white cardstock, tap it gently, and then you've got a really cool piece. Once it dries, that will make a beautiful background. So now I'm going to put it over here to dry in my tin pan. And this is one I did earlier. So we'll pretend that what I just did is dry already. It doesn't take that long to dry. And you can hurry it up with your heat tool if you like. There we go. And if you do not have a glass surface or some kind of waterproof mat, you can use a cookie sheet. If you put down wax paper, you probably saw with that, it will leak through. So I would not want to work right on my desk surface with that. I've got a fan on in here, so. All right, I can take my glove off now. And you know what we're going to do now? Wad it up. Every time I do something like this, I think of the kids when I was teaching school. They loved anything where you wadded up paper. You know, when you're doing Indians or some kind of well, when we studied Indians, we'd make old-fashioned looking paper with brown paper bags, and you wad it up a whole bunch of times, spread it back out, wad it up again, and it would kind of turn into this soft-looking paper. It was pretty cool. Kids love that. All right, you're going to spread it back out, but not all the way, you know, just a little. Now take some glue. A fine tip glue is best because you want to go around the edges and you want to cover the entire surface, but not with big pieces that are going to get your paper wet. You want a small amount of glue over the whole surface. Can you see how little I have, really? All right, then we're going to put this on top. But you want to keep, sorry, I shook that. You want to keep the hills and valleys in the tissue paper. So if you don't think there are enough hills and valleys, scrunch it up a little as you're pushing into the glue so you'll have some more. All right. And then especially tap down around the edges. And then I'm going to turn it over with your scissors and just cut away the edges right up close to the edge of the cardstock. All right, like this. Now you could save these and have some more smaller pieces if you like. All right, now I want to show you what not to do. And then I've already shown you what it's supposed to look like. You want it to look like this. You want a little bit of embossing to occur. And on this one, I didn't leave enough hills and valleys in the tissue paper. This one, there's plenty, and there is on this too. So that was my first mistake here. My second mistake was I used my Versamark pad and I didn't tap lightly enough. I got entirely too much Versamark on here. So when I applied the white embossing powder, it just left too much, and that's just not pretty at all. This is pretty. These two are pretty. See, we just want the embossing to stick to the hills. So now, and this is kind of wet actually. Well, not wet, but you know, I just want the glue to dry. So I'm going to speed it up just a little. That'll work. Okay, now we're ready to do some embossing. You need your embossing buddy. And again, don't rub it and don't tap it hard. Tap it very lightly. You're just after getting on the hills. And the same thing with your Versamark pad. Tap lightly. Lightly. Don't put much pressure. That's good. All right, then my tray still has some white embossing powder. Now you could use silver or gold. I just really like the look of white. And I poured my embossing powder into these little Sistema containers. I found them at TJ Maxx. And I used some little, oops. These are little, I've got some more, thank goodness. What do you call those? You hang pictures on with them. You know what I'm talking about? So that'll keep that in there. All right. So we're just going to sprinkle a little on here, tap it off. And then I like to hold it over my trash can and blow on it to get, oops, I might have gotten a little too much off of there. There, all right. I can see, I don't know if you can see on camera, I think you can, that I just have it on the hills. That's what I'm after. So, let me move this out of the way. And we're going to heat this up. Then that's it. Now, if I were going to use this on a piece, which I will, I would either take the edge of my ink pad and cover those bits up, or I would just cut those off a little bit so that I would just have this. That's all there is to it. It's really kind of an easy project to do. As you can see, this is drying pretty quickly. And if you use a piece of white, like I did with this, after we first put the ink on it, you've got a great background piece. So that's it. I will have some written directions on my blog along with this video. And I'd like to thank you for watching. If you don't have the Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would like to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can just click below to go to my blog, and there's a button there to visit my online store. So thanks for watching. Bye.